Welcome, everyone. Another great episode. Lots of information today. Can we retire 60 of $600,000? Is $600,000 enough? We get that question all the time, and we're going to answer it today. You definitely want to stick around.
Yeah, I'm Becker. That's Orr. As you can tell, we're Becker Orr Wealth Management, part of Canaccord Genuity. And today we want to deal with that $600,000. So let's jump right into the scenario and give you what the parameters are that we've dealt with. Bob and Maria are 60. They have $600,000 in investments. They have a home worth $400K, 50 left on the mortgage. They're still paying it down. They're saving some per month. Target retirement is 3 years from now. And the biggest factor, they're looking at a $6,000 per month after-tax goal. Now, based on these parameters, is that 600 enough? And can they be able to deal with this and retire comfortably? Clint, what are we doing?
Well, we're going to answer the question, but first, just to summarize some of that information, a quick snapshot here. We asked Adam Busser, our wealth and estate planning specialist, to kind of run this through his magic machine, which is the software he uses for the financial planning. You can see that the outlay there, how that 600,000 is broken down, some RSP, some TFSA, some non-registered account, the primary residence. We did not use the primary residence as part of the retirement. Said, hey, let's just put the house aside. That's a common assumption when you're doing financial planning, at least for our clientele. And then answering the question, we did include CPP, we did include OAS in there as well, but the 600,000, 60 years old, all the assumptions Kevin just went through. Unfortunately, Kevin, I got some bad news. The answer is no. You can look at the data that just showed up on the bottom here, 68% funded, which means you would not be able to have a full retirement. You can see some of the data on the top line there. The monthly need was $6,000 after tax per month, but all the financials are saying the ability was only $4,370. That's a pretty big gap in terms of the income desired and the income that's realistic in retirement. And then the red 20 years there, that means they'd run out of money after 20 years into retirement. And you can see a negative estate value because we didn't include the house. We were looking at the investments, and they're actually going to be spending all the investments, so there wouldn't be anything left over. That's not the best news, is it?
No, exactly. I mean, one thing to do is if this is a scenario that you really want to look at, please get in touch with us. You can go to chatwithclintonandkevin.com. We can run actually these scenario numbers for you just to make sure, because everybody's always the same way. Do I need $1 million? Do I have 400,000? What can I survive on? Well, again, doing the numbers, putting them together, you'll be able to see. And based on the scenario we've given, look, rate of return is 3.25, inflation's 2.25. So they are realistic views that we've given you right here. But again, this shows that 600,000 at $6K a month is just not a realistic view for what you can do. And as the chart shows right in front of you, you can just see it's a downward slide. Good for the first little bit, but then you're withdrawing everything so fast that, everything just goes off. And 20 years down the road, now you're in negative territory. And this, again, we're not dealing with the house in there. It's just strictly the investment side of things. But again, this current value isn't exactly what you want to hear or what you want to deal with, but it is reality. And there are things that we can look at, isn't there?
Yeah, and we have to say, we just kind of took a sample idea there in terms of someone who's 60, 600,000, made a couple assumptions about their assets. What could they do? So that's the key question. All right, the current path they're on is not going to lead to fully funded retirement. Well, the first item as well, that prior chart showed you could spend $52K a year, or that $4,370, give or take a month after tax. So instead of spending $72,000 after tax, you could just adjust your spending, and then the plan would be fully on track. But that's a big adjustment. Going from $72,000 after tax year to $52 is a pretty big haircut. But that is one option. You simply would adjust the budget accordingly. But there are other options, right? We want to provide some optimism here. How would this scenario work out? Well, here's a couple of items we could consider, right, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff to deal with is you can delay your CPP to 70. You can delay your OAS to 70. These are things that are going to increase what you're getting. And of course, adjusted by inflation, they're going to only go up as your lifetime goes on. As opposed to saying you want to do that retirement at 63, let's move that date back by 2 years and make it a retirement at 65. And again, we did mention the mortgage was $50,000, which theoretically could be paid off in 2 years. Once that's done, put all that savings towards increased, or put all that mortgage payment towards increased savings. That's going to help. And again, the final point basically is, depending on if you've got a conservative portfolio, maybe you adjust the portfolio a bit and we look at better returns going forward. Now, if you do all of these scenarios, what happens, Clint? Is it a possibility that we can survive?
Oh, absolutely. Look at that big difference. Look at that big difference. Now, there was a number of factors that did that intentionally. It's unlikely that someone would have to do all of those. In this sample case scenario, all those did make a difference, but everyone would be a little different. Sometimes adjusting CPP would make a big difference. Sometimes, saving a little extra would make a big difference. In this example, we did all of them. You can see a huge difference from that 68% fully funded to 107. Now they got some surplus. So a big difference. The monthly need of $6,000 is now being met with the monthly ability of $6,000. So they're able to spend that. And you can see the estate value there at the end went from a negative number to a positive 1 million, Kevin. So you ended up with a very nice surplus there. So certainly all those changes added up and had a big impact on the overall retirement plan. And it gives you a good idea of items you could think about. And often what we do with clients is we'll adjust some of those. Is it realistic to delay the CPP? What difference does it make? Let's run this scenario. Is it realistic to save a little extra? What difference does that make? Let's run this scenario. You can adjust the variables one at a time to see the impact. In this case, all those variables ended up with a very big impact and a positive result for our sample clientele here. And look at the graph here, Kevin. This is what you want to see, right? Scenario 1, where the dotted line runs negative, compared to scenario 2 there, that turquoise line.
Yeah, and as we can see, I mean, all of a sudden you get that high spending a little bit in the early, and then everything levels off. That's a big factor to deal with. So what we've done by adjusting some of those factors is that we've allowed you to continue going forward with the numbers that you dealt with originally. And again, one point to really stress is the sooner you do this before retirement, like, many, many years in advance, the better off you're going to be. The last thing you want to do is say, well, I'm retiring next month. Can I do it? Based on that first scenario, no, based on what's going on. So making that financial plan, getting it done is really important. And the quicker you do it before you get to that retirement time frame, you're going to have a lot more flexibility and the ability to be able to cover some of these things that we've dealt with before. So that's a huge factor as to how it deals with and what you want to do going forward to make sure you can hit the retirement goal you have.
Yeah, and let's compare the two scenarios. Again, you're very bang on that the earlier you start the planning, the better. In this case, you have on the left side there, the cash flows. You can see the income, which is a bit of work. And then as you get into the retirement years, it's largely CPP and OAS. They're the withdrawals, which are the darker blue line, which in the first scenario run out. And you get all those red bars, which are the shortfalls. And then on the right, with all the different changes we had talked about, you see a pretty big difference. You can see some higher blue bars, or light blue, pardon me, when there's the working years. And then lots of withdrawals, because remember the scenario is delaying CPP, delaying OAS. So those light blue bars don't really kick in again until later. So earlier on in the right scenario, it's work, latter part it's CPP, OAS. And that is the bulk of the retirement income here. And you can see there's no red in that cash flow projection. So it's working out nicely in that $6,000 after tax per month with those suggestions works out quite well for their retirement plan. So that kind of summarizes a few of the details there and shows you retirement certainly is feasible. It's less about the number though. I know we said, oh, 600,000 the right number. I think hopefully the takeaway here is that it's really less about the number, because there is no magic number. It's not that everyone has to have 600 or 700,000 or a million. It really very much depends on your situation. Because remember, these folks could have retired with 600,000 if their budget was different. If they only wanted 4,000 after tax a month for their lifestyle, hey, they had enough money, they could have retired. So it's very much depending on the lifestyle they wanted to achieve. So very much a unique figure for them, as opposed to a one size fits all.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned it. Each person's going to be a different individual as to how they deal with this, but lifestyle is the huge factor. The more you want to spend in retirement, the more you're going to have. If you're spending less, then you're probably going to need less. We have done videos on things along these lines before, 4 signs that you're on track for your retirement. Definitely something that you can check out on our website and see us when you get a chance. But again, there's a lot of different things to put into this. Remember, the sooner you do it and figure out if the number you have is enough, by doing the financial plan, you're going to come there. That's our mantra, making sure that you have that plan in place so that your retirement looks exactly like you should. Clint, any closing words that we should have coming forward?
The video you just mentioned, 4 signs that you're on track for retirement, that'd be a great follow-up to this video. It's right there, probably floating over Kevin's face as I talk, so you can click that one, and we'll see you there.